All right, let's talk about TJ Tampa, a really interesting player. So he was, projected to be a top 50 selection. I remember when I did my initial evaluation of him, I thought that was a bit high. I wasn't quite on that level with him because I do think there are some issues which we'll get into with his game. But he fell all the way to pick 130, and I just can't believe he fell that far. Like even me, who was someone who was a bit lower on Tampa than most, was pretty surprised by it. So let's get into all of what TJ Tampa is. First, this play, when you see on the screen, just a bit busy here, my graphic that I put on the screen, but let me just explain what this is. So it's going to be a cover 2 man that the defense is going to be in right here. So for Tampa, he is the guy who I have circled in white right here. There is a receiver who's going to be running a go route on this play. It looks like there's safety help here by the way it's you see on the screen, but there's not. Really, the safety is not going to be covering this. So Tampa is very much on his own here. When this play begins, you see that there's going to be a play action, and right here for TJ Tampa, is there a window to make this throw? Well, again, keep in mind, receiver is the one in white right here, so maybe the issue with Tampa and kind of the criticism that you're going to hear a lot in this video is the speed. He isn't the fastest corner. He kind of, it usually is just fast enough to make it work at the NFL level. Like there is kind of a cutoff, and he just barely makes that cutoff. But still, I think there's concerns about can he win these one-on-one matchups. And right here, he hasn't really given up a ton of separation at this point, but can the receiver he's going up against blow by him? Well, on this one, the answer is not really. I think Tampa is able to stick with him to some degree. There is maybe a step right here. The biggest concern you would have at this point, if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, hoping that he is good, is the idea of, your back is turned towards the ball. So Tampa can't really play the ball, whereas the receiver who is trying to make the catch can, because if he turns around at the wrong time, it's no big deal. If Tampa does, it's the end of the play, basically. However, Tampa is able to adjust nicely. He is able to reach his hand out and help knock that ball away. I think that definitely, we always talk about with speed, one of the real benefits of speed is if you get out of position, it just gives you a chance to come back. But another way you can do that is with great ball skills, which TJ Tampa certainly has. So it's interesting. Like this play is another example of kind of what I'm talking about. It's man coverage, going to be a one-on-one matchup down the field. So this is a big situation once again for Tampa. Certainly, he would be in these situations. When this play begins, you see that right here does get kind of turned around a little bit. Currently, his back is now turned towards the bottom of the screen, which is where the receiver is going. That's not ideal. But watch how he is going to be able to come back and make an impact on this play, not really through his speed, although he was able to show a little bit of burst. Again, he's not the slowest corner you ever see. Like I said, he does kind of pass that threshold, but more so, he's just able to use his ball skills to make that work. That is, in my opinion, his best trait. I think his ball skills are, if he is someone who sticks in the NFL for a while, it's going to be because he has really good ball skills and is able to do enough with the other stuff. Now, going over here, to me, this is almost just as big of a concern as the, could Tyreek Hill blow by him on the outside? Because the answer to that is probably yes. But you can game plan around that, right? The concern is, could something like this happen, where it's a one-on-one matchup and it's just an out route right here? However, when this play begins, you're going to see that when the receiver cuts, look at how much room Tampa is giving him. This is just something that as a slower corner, you kind of have to do, is you have to give a little bit more room just because you're concerned about, you can't get beat deep, right? If you have more speed, you don't have to worry about this as much. Now, that being said, if you have really good ball skills, again, it's kind of, it makes things work, right? Richard Sherman would give a decent amount of space, but then when corners would try to throw it in his area, he had such good footwork and such good ball skills, he would get interceptions. Here, though, there is too much space, and also TJ Tampa is not Richard Sherman, but he still knocks the ball away, right? He still does a good job of closing there. So that's kind of what you hope happens. That's the downside and the upside of TJ Tampa. I still think that was maybe a catchable ball that Tampa kind of came in at the last second and was able to knock away. I think if the receiver catches that cleanly, it's still a completion, but you still do see the good closing ability there by Tampa to try and disrupt the play. Also, let's talk about his athleticism and really his tackling ability, which a lot of people like to say, who cares? We want you to be able to cover, right? That's our goal. And okay, yeah, sure, of course. But listen, these plays still happen. In fact, it seems like there's an epidemic of wide receiver screen passes at this point. So for a corner, you have to be able to tackle. And so getting a 200-pound 6'2 corner you might feel like that makes things easier. You see the play concept on your screen, but for Tampa, he is actually not getting blocked. That's where he is on this play. So that's how this play is designed to work. Hopefully you get receiver in open space and can make a move, perhaps, if you're Oklahoma here. Watch how when this play begins, ball is flipped back. And for right here, for TJ Tampa, to be honest, he's almost a little bit too close to the inside right here, right? You're definitely worried this receiver is just going to run by him. But that is not what happens. Watch that nice tackle. So you definitely see flashes of TJ Tampa making some great tackles, quite frankly. I would say I don't know if we saw them as consistently as you would have liked. Like, I definitely also saw stuff like this, where the way this is going to work is it's going to be a running play. That's where he is on the field. It's tight end blocking him, which, okay, you could say that's a mismatch if you want to, sure. But still, let's see what happens. When this play begins, I wouldn't say this is in a horrible situation. Tampa almost seems like he wants to, go around the tight end at this point. Okay, trying to make an impact, sure. However, here he kind of gets knocked out of the way, and it's able to be a run for a decent gain. Again, some people might say, hey, we want you to, the cover, and usually when it comes to run defense, you just want him to be good enough, which he certainly is good enough. But I would say that for his size, you maybe are hoping, oh, we got like an elite tackling or run defense corner. I don't really see that with him. I see him as kind of just a guy who's fine at that, which with the occasional splash play is most of what I saw in college. So yeah, I mean, listen, I don't look at him and see an elite level prospect. I just don't. When he was projected to go 50th, I was like, okay, that feels a bit high. And then this first round goes around. Some people thought maybe he'd be a first rounder. I saw some people even projecting like, could Tampa Bay take TJ Tampa? Kind of with the name. Doesn't go in the first round. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Doesn't go in round 2, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me. I think that I was kind of not expecting him to go round 2 either. Then round 3 comes around, and he's still not getting drafted. And he doesn't get drafted on day 2. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. What happened there? Then round 4 comes around, and he almost doesn't get drafted then as well. I mean, we're seeing guys who are essentially getting drafted just to be role players going, above him. And I'm kind of just like, man, I get that there's some critiques and some things to not love about his game, but it feels like the upside is so much there, and he still could be a quality role player. The fact that he's going, 10 spots, or 8 spots behind a punter, like, that makes zero sense to me, quite frankly. So the other thing I have to mention is the Baltimore Ravens being the team to draft him. Like, feels like they can get the most out of him. The Ravens are a really good, smart team, especially when it comes to defensive backs. They really understand what they're doing drafting these guys. So I think what's going to happen is that in a few years, we'll sit here and say, regardless of what kind of player TJ Tampa is, we'll sit here and say, how did he fall to pick 130? That was crazy. Like, maybe we'll sit here and, we won't sit here and say, how did wow, he's an all-pro, amazing. But I think we'll probably, he'll probably be a pretty good player for Baltimore. So kind of a crazy slide there. Don't really, knocked over my microphone for a second. Don't really know if I agree with that one. But that's just my opinion. What is yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.